Most people assume that working on your mental health means booking expensive therapy appointments, completely overhauling your diet, or meditating in a cave for an hour every day. That's not true. As a double board certified psychiatrist, I can tell you that the vast majority of my patients, the key to better mental health isn't one massive miraculous cure. It's the aggregation of small, boring, consistent daily habits. Your brain chemistry does not require a superhero. It requires stability. When you are feeling anxious, depressed, or stuck, you don't need a map of the entire future. You just need to know the very next step. Today, I'm breaking down the top 5 daily tips to improve your mental health. These are actionable, evidence-based tools that take 5 minutes or less, but when applied consistently, they can change the entire baseline of your biological resilience. Hi, I'm Dr. Shauna. Let's get into it. The first tip is the very first thing you need to do when you wake up. Go outside and look at the sky. Notice I did not say check your phone or look out the window. You need actual photons hitting your retinas. This is about regulating your master biological clock, your circadian rhythm. Your brain relies on 2 primary hormones, serotonin for alertness and mood, and melatonin for sleep. Serotonin cannot be produced effectively if your brain doesn't know it's daytime. When natural sunlight enters your eye, it triggers the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master nucleus in your brain, to tell your system, okay, the day has begun. Stop producing sleep juice and start producing happy alert juice. The optimal window is in the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking. Getting 10 to 15 minutes of outdoor light, even if it's cloudy, sets your cortisol and serotonin release for the day, and critically, it resets the 16-hour countdown for melatonin release that night. When you look at the sunlight first thing in the morning, you aren't just improving your mood right now, you're actively guaranteeing you'll be tired at bedtime. Building a foundation for quality sleep. Skip the coffee and the Zoom scrolling for 15 minutes. Go greet the sun, and your brain will reward you. The next tip is something you can use the moment your baseline is threatened by anxiety, the 5-minute box breathing. When your anxiety spikes, whether it's because of an email from your boss or sensory overload, your body automatically enters fight or flight. Your amygdala, the alarm center, takes over, and your logical prefrontal cortex is effectively bypassed. You can't think clearly when your brain thinks you're being chased by a bear. You cannot think your way out of a physical panic response when it's happening. You have to bottom up regulate. That means you use your physical body to trick your brain into calming down. Breathing is the only major mechanism of the autonomic nervous system that we have voluntary control over. Box breathing is simple. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds. When you deliberately slow and deep set your breath, you signal to your vagus nerve that you are safe. This physical signal forces the activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response, which automatically quiets the amygdala. For 5 minutes, just focus on the rhythm. You are giving your brain 5 minutes of sensory, predictable input, effectively providing a hard reset to your nervous system. Number 3 addresses motivation. Give your brain one disposable win. We often view dopamine as the chemical we get after we finish a task, but dopamine's actual biological role is motivation. It's the chemical that encourages us to go and get the thing we want. When you're struggling with a mental health deficit, your brain is dopamine deprived. Starting a major project feels physically painful because your brain calculates that the massive activation energy required to start isn't worth the dopamine payoff at the end. But we break this paralysis by lowering the cost of entry. Do not make your daily goal write 500 words or run 5 miles. Make the daily goal one disposable task, something that takes 15 minutes or less and that you can stop at a second without losing your flow. This might be unloading the dishwasher or putting away 5 items of clothing. These are not performance goals, they are calibration goals. When you achieve that single manageable win, your brain gets a small, easy dopamine spike. This tiny win changes your physiological state from paralysis to action, effectively jumpstarting your motivation for the next thing. One small win right now is biologically worth more than a huge promised win tomorrow. The next tip is about checking your raw materials, the 4 Ps of active nutrition. I'm a big believer in active nutrition rather than restriction. Mental health is a high energy process. To synthesize serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, your brain needs constant raw building blocks. When you ignore your basic biology, you aren't fighting depression, you are starving your own recovery. Before you decide you are having a mental breakdown, ask yourself if you've handled the 4 Ps: protein, plants, probiotics, and processing. Protein. Amino acids are the precursors to every major neurotransmitter. Are you giving your brain the material it needs? Plants. Colorful vegetables provide fiber as the cofactors necessary for neurotransmitter synthesis. Probiotics. 95% of your serotonin is made in your gut microbiome. If your gut health is a mess, your brain health is a mess. Processing. What percentage of your daily intake is whole foods versus ultra processed convenience items? Highly processed foods trigger inflammation, and we are discovering that inflammation is the #1 biological trigger for depression symptoms. You don't need a diet, you just need to check your 4 Ps once a day. Finally, the #1 daily habit to improve your mental health is something that sounds incredibly basic, but it is a massive clinical tool. You must externalize the internal. The human brain was designed as a tool for problem solving, not storage. When you try to store all your anxieties, obligations, and worries inside your head, your working memory becomes a chaotic, overloaded bottleneck. This overload is the leading cause of brain fog and that crushing sense of existential overwhelm. To clean the closet, you must take the clothes out. You cannot solve a problem when the data points are swirling around in a messy loop. Once a day, grab a physical pen and paper and do what I call a physical dump. Set the timer for 5 minutes and write down every thought, every worry, every obligation current bouncing around in your head. Don't worry about spelling, grammar, or logic. The minute your anxiety is a physical sentence on a page, your prefrontal cortex can engage. It transforms from a vague feeling of terror into a concrete data point you can analyze or dismiss. Labeling the thoughts on the page separates you from the feeling. It clears the cognitive workspace, instantly reducing overwhelming feelings and allowing your problem-solving brain to finally do its job. Improving your mental health isn't about grand gestures. It's about respect for your biological system. Your brain is not a car you can only take to the mechanic when it breaks down. It is a living organ that requires simple, consistent maintenance every single day. Look at the light. Check your 4 Ps. Get that one small win. These simple, actionable tools are not extra tasks. They are the basic maintenance your high-performance brain requires to operate at its best. I'm Dr. Shauna, and I'll see you in the next one.